Good afternoon, everybody. Uneducated Economist here. So I just got off of work and I thought I'd make this video kind of talking a little bit about the two short videos that I had put out earlier. One of them was talking about my house payment. This was kind of an interesting thing that I didn't expect this morning when I had opened up the envelope to make the house payment. I had waited a couple of days to try and let some bills come out of the checking account before I went and made the house payment. And so this morning, when I opened up the envelope to go make the payment, I saw that the payment on the house was dramatically higher, like quite a bit higher. And I'm like, whoa, what happened here? And I take a look, and sure enough, the insurance and taxes had been adjusted, and boy, did they go up. I was not expecting a $200 increase to my house payment, but it's not the house payment, it's actually just the taxes and insurance that went up, the escrow. And so anyway, that was kind of a shocker this morning when I went to go make the payment. So that's going to be for the next year. I'm kind of wondering what next year is going to look like again. But I kind of think about what that would do to somebody who has a budget that is right at the limit. Like, really, that is my budget for my day job. When it comes to my wife and I and our day jobs and the bills that we can pay with them, we are like right at the limit. And so to have like an extra $200 to tack onto your budget, that's a hit. That was quite a bit. Fortunately, it's not just our day jobs that we have. I do YouTube videos, I call bingo. There's things that we do to try and earn extra income. So we're not like sitting stretched out to the end of the month, but a lot of Americans are. And if they experience something like that, it can be, like I said, it can be quite the hit that the average household has to endure if that was to happen to them. The other thing, lumber prices, right? Lumber prices had come down a little bit on the futures. It went from like $520 down to around $499, so sitting right around that $500 mark. But the vendors that I'm talking to, prices are going up, right? Every week I get another price list. I check with them regularly, and they are ticking up every single week. They're going up just a little bit. So you're going to find this starting to bleed into the retail prices. How long that takes really depends on your supplier, like what mill or what lumberyard you're using. If they have a high turnover rate, then you're going to see the prices moving a lot faster. But if they have a very slow turnover rate, like they're not doing a lot of projects, not a lot of business taking place, it's in the middle of winter, that's pretty usual. You might have a little bit of time before you start seeing the real dramatic increasing to the prices. But if there is any pop to the home building, if there is any kind of sign to the home builder, to the big time home builders out there, that the buyer is coming back to the market, I mean, that's their job. That's what they're looking to do for money, is to build homes. And if you see any kind of like increase in sentiment, like the buyers are coming back, they're looking at the interest rates coming down, and they're saying, hey, that's a really, that's where my price tag is, I'm ready to jump. If that sort of thing starts to take place, then the builders start rushing in. If they start rushing in, there is really not a lot of inventory, especially when it comes to the plywood. And plywood is one of those critical components, a lot like the little circuit chips that came up in short supply. If you don't have these particular little semiconductors, then you can't finish off your vehicles or the computer or whatever it is that you are building as far as an electronic goes. This little tiny part can hold up the entire project. Well, plywood is very similar to that when it comes to new construction. So you have like the skeleton of the building. This is like all the 2x4s and 2x6s. And then they put the sheathing on, which is the plywood, either 1/2-inch CDX or 7/16 OSB. These are the two common sheathing plywoods that are out there. And now OSB is generally the cheaper, inferior product, especially up here in the Pacific Northwest where it rains a lot and we have some really nasty weather. The OSB is a lot more sensitive to the weather than, say, the 1/2-inch CDX is. So it's a bit of an inferior product, but it still works just the same as the 1/2-inch CDX, and especially in drier climates like down in the southern part of the United States, it's a lot more popular than, say, the CDX is up here in the Pacific Northwest. Now, when I looked into the inventory levels, or at least getting the reports on these inventory levels, it seems that the mills are tightening up and pushing order files out quite a ways. Like, So when you place orders from the mill and stuff like that, you're stacked up with a bunch of others that are in line, right? So once the plywood is produced and gets on the truck and starts shipping out, then the next the next order comes up, and it's just kind of in line with everybody else. So they know about how fast they can produce the plywood, and they know how many orders that they have, and they have pushed those orders all the way out to the end of March. So that doesn't leave a whole lot of inventory in the works. Like, you think about it, this is like, if they had a huge amount of inventory, then they could be for prompt delivery, meaning that we don't have to wait until March to get you the product. We can get you the product right away, but we're pushing it all the way out to March. That's an inventory depletion. Like, the demand isn't quite there, but the inventory level isn't quite enough to bring in that prompt delivery. And so that's where I'm saying this is the concerning part of it. You can't say like, hey, call up, like, what's your inventory? What's your inventory level? What's your, it's order files. Like, how far out does it take in order to get your order? And now I'm not talking like the retail side of things. I'm talking like the big wholesale side of things. And so this is really what's telling me that there is an inventory depletion taking place when you have the order files pushed out that far. That means that the people are saying, hey, I'm looking for my material, and I am willing to put the order in now, knowing that it's going to take 2 months to get it because of the tight inventory that's out there, right? You don't want to come up in short supply, so you put your orders in. And so that's what we're finding right now, is that these order files have been pushed out. Plywood is starting to do the exact same thing. It's being pushed out too. Not nearly as much as the OSB, but it is starting to go out there a little ways. I'm finding lumber is a little difficult to source out on the wides. Like, like you have 2x4s, 2x6s. These are considered the narrows. And then you have the wides, which is like 2x12, right? So the wider boards are a little bit more difficult to source out. And I would imagine that's from the mills producing what is in demand. Studs and plate material, which are 2x4s, 2x6s. These are the common lumber out there, which is going to be the higher demand stuff. So it makes sense that when mills are going into curtailment, that they would only be producing that is in the highest demand, and that's the 2x4s and 2x6s, studs and plate stock. So that's the reason why we're seeing a depletion in the wides, is because they're not nearly as popular, and the mills are producing stuff that's going to sell. Now, something interesting on a side note from this, because the mills are not producing as much, all the curtailment that has taken place, the byproduct, the fiber that comes off of it, has had yet a secondary impact into the wood burning pellets. This is something else that we sell, is wood burning pellets, like heating pellets for your house. Now, the fiber that normally is coming from all these mills out here, because we're in the Pacific Northwest, right? So there's a ton of mills. The fiber that these pellet manufacturers, the pellet producers buy, has come up in short supply. Right? They're having a hard time sourcing out this fiber because not nearly as many mills are producing right now, and that lack of fiber is now moving into the prices of pellets, which have started to move up. They already went up last year because of trucking, and now they're moving up this year because of literally the input cost, due to the fact of the lack of fiber coming from the mills that are not producing due to the low demand for lumber. Woo! All right. Uneducated economist, you guys let me know.